Hi, I'm Dr. Dan, the pop culture prof. Been a huge fan of slasher films since 1978 when a few friends and I snuck into the theater to see Halloween. Now, that changed my life. After that, I was hooked. I've gone on to become a professor who studies horror. To say that this was an instrumental moment in my life would not be an understatement. Having said that, I find that the movies that are most successful not only have a really good central villain, but they have a very powerful final girl. Now, this term was coined by the film scholar Carol Clover back in 1992 in her book Men, Women, and Chainsaws. And her whole argument was that horror audiences, especially male audiences, tend to identify with a woman who fights back and survives. Every name on this list owes something to that theory, whether the filmmakers knew it or not. So let's count down the best of the best, starting at the very beginning of the genre. Jess Bradford from 1974's Black Christmas. She is the foundation. Jess predates the slasher boom entirely. She's setting the blueprint before the genre even had rules. The killer's never caught. Nothing's really ever explained, so that makes her survival feel less triumphant, more like a dread that kind of just sticks with you. I actually found this film to be a bummer, and it's not one that I watch regularly. There's no big final showdown here. She just makes it through the night, but in 1974, that was a pretty big deal in and of itself. Moving from the foundation to the strategist, we have Ginny from 1980's Friday the 13th, Part 2. Now, Ginny is great. She was a psychology student, and she really kind of outthought Jason. And at the end of the film, she dons Jason's mother's old, disgusting sweater, and she really beats him not with weapons, even though she uses them, but she does it by outthinking Jason, who is really just pure instinct. Now, Nancy Thompson from 1984's The Nightmare on Elm Street is not really a strategist as much as she is a tactician. Nancy takes it further than Ginny. She's not just reading her killer, she creates her own booby traps and turns her house into a weapon. I always enjoy watching some of the things she sets up, and she does it in like 10 minutes, which is just amazing. Freddy attacks her dreams, so this isn't a physical fight, but it has the psychological component to it as well. And she has to master her own subconscious before she can really touch him in the real world. She comes back for Dream Warriors, which I feel is one of the best genre sequels in this field. Then she shows up again in New Nightmare, this time blurring the line between actress and character. 2 comebacks, 2 different decades, and that's a staying power that very few final girls have matched. Next up is Sidney Prescott from Scream, 1986. Now, this is the meta-subversion film. Sidney bridges the gap between the classic era and the new era. She's seen these movies. She knows the tropes. She's carrying pieces of Jess, Ginny, and Nancy in her. Scream basically compresses the whole genre into one character, and she survives across 2 decades of sequels. One of the only final girls with that kind of franchise-long staying power. We are moving into 2022 with Sienna Shaw in Terrifier 2, the modern warrior angel. Now, Sienna, to me, saved this franchise. She pushes the trope into some fantasy territory and then turns her into more of a mythic hero than a survivor. Terrifier 1 was hard to watch. Pretty much, I just thought it was gritty, kind of grimy, and that could have worked for it, but it was really missing that final girl. And so Sienna actually is the one I feel that turned this into a franchise. Don't get me wrong, Art the Clown is great, but I think Sienna really helped engineer this turnaround, and she saved the series from really just being a pointless splatterfest. I will say this film is not for everyone. This is one of the goriest entries I have ever seen, And there are still some scenes that I have to watch with my eyes covered. So keep that in mind. Sienna Shaw is a tremendous final girl. I would argue that she's probably the best final girl of the 2000s. One of my favorites is Tina Shepard from Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. This 1988 film introduced her as the supernatural powerhouse. I've often seen it referred to as Carrie meets Jason. Tina has telekinesis, and she's the only final girl on this list who beats her killer with superpowers. Tina is calculating every single move before she makes it. Jason is just out there attacking. I think this is probably the best fight sequence in the entire series. I absolutely love this film. I know I probably shouldn't. It got ripped, but it is a fun one for me, and I absolutely never get sick of watching that final battle unfold. My top pick is an obvious one, and that is the Alpha and the Omega, and that is Laurie Strode from Halloween, 1978. She is one character who spanned 4 decades and went through multiple phases: babysitter, trauma survivor, grandmother, passing the fight down. The series just never worked without her. Every attempt to move on without Laurie just collapsed. Now, Halloween 3 tried life without both Michael and Laurie, and fans rejected it outright, though I find that the film is still really amazing in its own right. She is the gravity the whole franchise orbits around. You take her out and the series loses its center. Now, I will point out that I'm following the timeline of the newest trilogy, in which Halloween 2 from 1980 didn't exist, Age 20, all of the Jamie Lloyd stuff just wasn't part of it. I doubt we'll ever have a final girl that matches her record. Those are my top 7, and I know there are a lot more. What about Ellen Ripley from Alien? I still see that more as science fiction and not as a slasher, but we still have Alice Hardy from the original Friday the 13th and Chris Higgins from the third entry, who are great final girls in their own right. Well, if you enjoyed this content, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit that like and subscribe button. Help me build this channel. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.